Well, it was nervous, but it's a small company, like, sure, no problem, I'll sign. And luckily we did get through all of them without a problem, but I'll tell you what, it made me nervous, and it made sure I had my act together. Because if you have a threat of saying you have a 5-year contract, but really after a year you may not, you did what it took.
That's why I had a 5-year contract.
And to be honest with you, I appreciated it because you know what, we were both on the same page. You had to both focus. You knew what to do. You knew what it took to make it happen.
Yeah, and in ours there's a whole lot. There's a bunch of language in the disaster recovery plan about all the factors you've got to consider and yeah.
So
and the security architecture.
I'd love to get a copy. I'd love if I could get a copy of that. Anything that's available, because inside the federal family, we'll steal. No, we're just leveraging the expertise.
We found there are 2 SLAs that I think don't change a lot, and one of them is customer satisfaction. Although there are certainly ways to gain customer satisfaction. I mean, the bottom line is that you can. If the whole project is read that the customer's happy, that's not necessarily a bad project. And the other one is, I think in terms of SLAs, we as a group IT, we manage too many eaches. And what we're trying to do is manage a service. And as an example, instead of managing your PC works, your NIC works, your WAN works, your LAN works, your firewall works, measure I can get to Google. I can get to Google with a certain amount of latency, blah blah blah, and if none of that stuff in between breaks, if any of that stuff breaks, you can't get to Google. It's a failure. Rather than measuring all those eaches.
Okay.
There are a lot of other kinds of services you can measure, but measure services rather than eaches.
Now, one of the ideas I had for security, and when OMB was running it, now DHS is running the reporting, is just that you have to be able to report on security, and I was guaranteed that it would change. And I'm sure that's going to be the same with DHS, because the FSMA reporting is changing substantially, and I don't think it's anywhere close to maturity. So, you have to be able to provide data for the FSMA report. We'll encourage flexibility. I have to be flexible, why shouldn't they? All right. How do I know I'm secure? That's a question that
you can't prove the negative.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You can't prove the negative.
You think you are. All your tools may say you are, but in reality, you're not.
Well, you're never 100% unless you unplug.
Right.
Yeah.
Very
I guess the point here was, what is the kinds of information that somebody would need, an organization would need, to know doing the right things? Are there any specifics that are involved that you can think of that raise to the level? I asked the guy from US CERT where I should be putting my money. You guys have any suggestions?
You want the outside outsourcing concept, right?
You'd have to look at your program and see where you're at.
Yeah.
To be able to answer that with any, you have to have knowledge of where you're at.
We are trying to work with an SLA in all of our contracts that requires them to pass all audits. FSMA, A123, annual financial audit, and we just put we list it and then we list them as examples. Obviously, you don't hold. I mean, in the case of the financial audit, you don't hold them.
That's what we did.
You're passing that. That way, if the audit changes or that you get a new audit, they still are required to pass it.
Yeah.
So, what is passing?
We haven't quite got that settled yet.
Because actually we have an audit, fiscal and environmental controls. They audited our 2 data centers, the IG did, and both providers passed with flying colors. They had all the controls implemented, they had the evidence and everything. You know how much got written up on that audit? nothing. Because if there's nothing for the IG to report, you don't have anything written up.
That doesn't have to be all the audits you put in.
No, I'm just, what is passing, the only thing the IG will write up is an audit with findings. So I like that, but I need to know what passing means.
Yeah, well, it does depend, it does vary from audit to audit, but I mean, in place of a financial audit, there's some, you know, I'm sure we all get financial audits every year because you know, you get it. And there are some very specific things in terms of financial audit about what is a deficiency, what is a finding, what is a, you know.
Yep.
I think you could
So
define
I
that.
could go to the A123 internal.
Right, there are some audits in which it's not as clear, and if you don't have that written out, then you may have a difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for ours, we deliberately wrote the ITIL standards that are written in so that we could get COVID data in. I mean, we broadened it and strengthened it so we could get the audit data behind it.
Okay.
That sort of thing.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't, and we scrubbed the standards section. Oh, wasn't writing the SOW so much fun. We strengthened the standards section.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to get
And they don't tend to look at that section
Yeah.
a lot, and you sort of keep saying, remember? Shake this out.
How more costly are your projects though if you're gonna require that I have to follow DICAP, NIST, A123, keep going and going? Does that really affect the project cost tremendously?
If you look at when a company comes up to bid for something like this, I mean, remember this is something like, this one is like the largest IT contract in like years, okay? Everybody coming up for this was like ISO certified out the wazoo. They should have been able to just roll over and say fine. And they all worked. It wasn't a big deal. It was not a big
requiring an
deal.
ISO certification from either of our contractors is not a big deal. They can provide.
No.
But from a CNA perspective,
No.
as far as I'm concerned, if they've been ISO certified, I'm going, and I need to redo this because,
You know,
give me your ISO certification.
Yeah, you need to recognize a level of trust when they've done their own work and they can prove it to you. I believe
Carry forward.
See, I will accept the fact that they've had another third-party, independent party go in. You give me your certification, and if you turn out to screw it up, you're going to lose your certification. Then you're just lying.
And it's not a level of standards that we put into, you know, like a different kind of contract.
Yeah, but so both of them do follow, and one of them is ISO 20001, the really high one.
And so it means that when we start negotiating the format of the reports, you can say that you're looking at, you know, open group and OSI, and you just want, hi, this way. Remember, you're certified in this, you should know exactly what we're talking about.
You should be able to provide me, if I want to dig down into your documentation, you should be able to just pull it right up. It should not cost me 80 hours worth of labor for you to do this.
Or 3 months to go and develop a process to do it. You should.
That's one thing that I started doing is to try to map the NIST standard with some of the things we're using in Canada and ISO and that kind of thing.
Now I know the vendor community, come on vendor community, I know that you have done this mapping. I know that you have done the mapping between NIST, ISO, PCI DSS. I mean, I know the mapping exists. The crosswalks exist. So the vendor community has done it because they use it to sell products.